can't find a seconder usually when I propose this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this, pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal service provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele, backwoods Southern lawyer. Got my partner in crime, Mr. Paul Ripp, with us today. How are you, Mr. Ripp?
Real good. Trying to catch my breath. It's been one hell of a Friday, I tell you.
Yeah, it's been that kind of couple weeks for us. So, our coronavirus information, wanted to let everybody know where they could go get this for themselves. John Hopkins, Google COVID-19 tracker is very useful. And the Alabama Department of Public Health has a ArcGIS website dashboard. So did you hear Pelosi and McConnell took the vaccine today, Paul?
Together, holding hands?
I did not witness it myself. I only read the article.
Well, it's a good sign that everybody, anybody that's anybody should get on TV and take it, so where more people will have confidence to take it. That's a very high rating, 94.5. And then Moderna, I believe, I saw a statistic that if you were over 65, it was almost 100%. So that's the one I'm getting.
Or it kills you. One of the.
Oh, it's one of the two.
Binary. So worldwide, million, just round numbers of total cases, 1.6 million deaths, and in the United States, 17,256,000 infected. Daily new cases, Paul, 238,000 cases a day.
3,200 yesterday.
So
that died.
So 310,935 deaths as of right now. And of course, I entitled the podcast 300,000 Dead, thinking that would get somebody's attention maybe.
And we're forecasted to go to 500,000. And there's every reason to believe that that is what's going to happen, because the scientists have been right since January last year.
So here, this is that slide I showed last time of the Moderna vaccine, and the fact that that Raines pointed out, it's going to be much more effective and accessible to rural communities because it doesn't have to be kept at minus 70 Celsius.
Right. And it's up to 6 months.
Well, at regular freezer temperature, I guess is
correct. And you got 2 more coming out behind it, so hopefully there could be 4 vaccines out that did basically the same thing worldwide. That'd give us a real handle on it. Of course, the United States is the one that is the worst, and LA County is in horrible position out there. ICU beds are gone.
Well, so let's talk about this for a second, and I don't want to get in the weeds too much. Rain said not to talk about it at all, but an RNA vaccine, or mRNA, messenger RNA vaccine, is a type of vaccine that uses a man-made copy of a natural chemical called messenger RNA to produce an immune response. The vaccine transfects molecules of synthetic RNA into human cells. Once inside the cells, the vaccine's RNA functions as messenger RNA, causing the cells to build foreign proteins that would normally be produced by pathogens, such as a virus or by a cancer cell. These protein molecules stimulate an adaptive immune response, which teaches the body how to identify and destroy the corresponding pathogen. Messenger RNA is coated with a drug delivery vehicle, usually a lipid nanoparticle, to protect the fragile messenger RNA strands and aid in their absorption into the human cells. It's all brand new. It's all novel.
Yeah.
And guess this PEG whatever lipid nanoparticle, the reason that's got a link to it is it's proprietary. You want to know what's in it? Nobody's going to tell you. Just like the crap they spread out in the Gulf on the oil spill. Proprietary.
Right.
It's just like soap, except it makes oil sink to the bottom of the ocean. So an RNA vaccine versus a traditional vaccine, you want to take a stab at that, Mr. Rip?
Nope.
Okay, well, essentially, a traditional vaccine, a component of it would be a microbial protein or an inactive, a dead virus, right? Put a virus skeleton into your body, and your body looks at it and says, "Oh, if we ever see this again, we're going to kill it." The messenger RNA, as described, is a completely different type of vaccine. And here we really get into the weeds with some sciencey stuff. But the important thing about this is none of this is happening in the nucleus of your cell. This is all happening in the cytoplasm where messenger RNA does its thing. So it's not going to change your DNA. That's stupid. So anyway, just some more about how the vaccine allegedly works. And
I see why Rain said don't get into it too much.
yeah, the lipid nanoparticle thing is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because messenger RNA is fragile and is supposed to only exist in the cytoplasm of your cells, not in your bloodstream or in your muscle tissue or however it can get diffused throughout your body. And just more of the same. So
bottom line is things are promising with the vaccine, but you still need to be social distancing and using your mask.
Well, and think about this. What's the trade-off of actually getting COVID? Because nobody really knows. Nobody knows long-term tissue damage to your heart, lungs, kidneys, most importantly, to you, Mr. Rip. You're only walking around with one, right?
Right. One kidney, right.
Well, kidney, yeah. So Clinton, Bush, and Obama, I've yet to see their vaccination.
Oh, it's probably coming.
So the first COVID-19 vaccines have arrived in Alabama. I know Thomas Hospital has some. Mobile Infirmary gave injections earlier this week, and UAB, I think, was the first to administer. Isn't that right?
That's correct. They had 125 people in the COVID unit the last time I had heard a number.
So Ivey extended the mask order for 6 more weeks. And
good for her.
And I just hate to be Chicken Little on this one, but do you think it's wise to inoculate all of our health care workers?
Yes.
First round of okay, I'm just saying it might be smart to take 10% of them and not give them the vaccine as a control, but we're going all in.
I believe, I truly believe in the science, and this is being coordinated among different companies. So it's not just one coming up with this.
Peer review.
Right.
Okay. So Alabama is a third world country. UN shocked by levels of poverty. This was an article that I found back in 2017. And along those same lines, nobody really cares about us or our environment. Alabama Power Company, the big headline this week was the coal ash cleanup estimates grow to $3.3 billion, Paul.
Right. And last year, Alabama Power increased customer rates by 3%, citing coal ash cleanup cost as a driving factor. Next year's is a 2% increase, which takes effect in January, and it is not tied to the coal ash or environmental compliance cost, but other infrastructure needs. So you, the consumer, you got Alabama Power, you're supposedly Alabama Power is cleaning this up. All they're doing is dinging us to pay for it. And they've already been fined in 2018, $1.25 million for groundwater pollution. Now, there's an excellent article, Alabama Power coal ash cleanup estimate grows to $3.3 billion, and that's by Dennis Pillon, PILLIONAL.com. It's an excellent article if you've been following this. And this is a time bomb waiting to go off. This would be 5 times more damaging, at least, than the BP oil spill. And Alabama Power just keeps kicking it right down the road, not doing anything at all, saying everything is safe, while anywhere else in the country, these things are being taken care of because of the environmental threat. And none of the others sit in a position as the power plant sits because of the river feeding into Mobile Bay. So I don't know what it's going to take for general public to get involved, or enough of the environmental agencies to get the attention of somebody to pay attention.
So Paul, I just
Yep.
did a little digging on the internet. The Southern Company in the fourth quarter of 2019 posted earnings of $440 million. That's in one quarter.
And that's not counting the advertising costs that they spent, which is a majority owned. And you know, who is their competition? Why are they advertising?
It's a monopoly.
Pardon me, monopoly. Right.
So here are the board members for the Southern Company. If anybody wants to shoot them an email or know who's responsible for all this. And then, of course, the man at the little desk is doing everything he can to roll back any kind of environmental protections before he gets out of office that he can.
Baykeepers are doing a good job. People should find you. If you want to stay up on this, you can go to mobilebaykeeper.org/coal ash and stay up with this topic.
All right. So Alabama in the news again. I'm assuming you know that Amazon has only been in existence for about 20 years, and it began as an online book retailer, right?
Correct.
Okay, so on November 20th, the local chapter of the Retail Workers and Department Store Union filed a petition to hold a union election at the Amazon Fulfillment Center in Bessemer, Alabama. They made the petition to the National Labor Relations Board, the federal agency that enforces labor laws. So, as no surprise, there's a no union Amazon warehouse in these United States.
Right, and they didn't locate in Bessemer, Alabama to be unionized.
So we give you a competitive advantage by making it where you're not responsible for collecting or remitting any sales tax for 15 years. You thereby put Sears out of business, and now they're talking about Amazon buying all the disused Sears stores as fulfillment centers. Irony.
Yeah, for real.
So anybody who enjoys a little soda at their local apothecary style pharmacy in their hometown, go take a picture of your kids in front of it, because Amazon just got into the prescription medication delivery business.
Really?
Introducing Amazon Pharmacy. Oh yeah, and listen, man, if you're some old woman who gets $700 a month in Social Security, and you can save $20 by ordering through Amazon, of course you're going to do that.
Absolutely.
So say goodbye to the local pharmacy. It's just going to be a foregone memory.
I think it'll take a
Of
little
memories.
while. Yep. Bye, Bill Barr. Bye, Bill Barr.
So, of course, the conspiracy Jake legs on Reddit are going nuts, saying that Trump wanted to lock up all these people in Georgia and Bill Barr would have no part of it, like he's leaving with his head high or something. Can we say anything nice about Bill Barr?
Yes, he resigned.
Okay. Thought I'd give you that opportunity. So the election obviously did not go Mr. Giuliani's way.
It's not over yet. Now they got a new date, January 6th.
Okay, well, I'm just showing you how to become president from the date you become a candidate and through the electoral college process. So, of course, Mo Brooks, we talked about him last time. The guy who says
Right.
it's not the ice that's falling in the water, it's the rocks falling in the water that's making sea levels rise.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Right. Mo Brooks really representing us well. It gives everybody a good laugh every now and then.
So this is Rain's area of expertise, but I did find an infographic. If anybody cares about the electoral timeline, of course, it's all about time, which is the reason that the Supreme Court crapped all over Texas.
Well, that Supreme Court,
Not to
what,
toot my own
yes,
horn.
but the Supreme Court's action was after 51 lawsuits had already been lost throughout the U.S. on this.
So I can tell you that the United States does have original jurisdiction when one state sues another. Imagine if Texas had sued Pennsylvania because they were unlawfully interfering with interstate commerce. Okay.
Right.
They would have standing, and the Supreme Court would be the court for it to be heard in, not as an appellate court, but as having original jurisdiction and being compelled to hear it. The state of Texas motion for leave to file a bill of complaint is denied for lack of standing under Article 3 of the Constitution. Texas has not demonstrated a judicially cognizable interest in which another state conducts its elections. All of the pending motions are moot. The interesting thing about that was the one person that probably did have standing was the candidate, and he's the one that should have filed this thing.
Right. Well, they knew it wasn't going anywhere anyway, but I was very surprised to see that many attorney generals and that many elected politicians that would stick their neck out like that. I'll read a little letter in Lagniappe in just a minute in reference to that.
Well, and that's the Trumpism issue. You're no longer a good Republican unless you throw in with Trump. And I've already established that that holds no sway over me. Speaking of something else that has me really upset, Gus Malzahn got fired this week.
Yep. How much money did he walk away with?
Well, he had a $49 million contract that he signed in 2017, and he's guaranteed 75% of that.
Whoa.
$30 million for him to go cool his heels at the Waffle House.
Wow, man. I don't know how they come up with these football contracts. I tell you, in the buyout, they need to eliminate the buyouts. If you're fired or let go, you're fired or let go. You don't get a check to go.
Oh, one thing that we need to remember to quiz Raines about, one of the issues that I heard through the grapevine was that the Texas Attorney General was fishing for a pardon, that he's under a lot of heat in his home state. You can imagine that. So
no, I got a feeling the next 2 or 3 weeks we might see a bunch of pardons pop up.
So while they didn't have guts enough to pull the trigger on Mardi Gras, Mobile did cancel its New Year's Eve celebration. And for people who don't know, we have a big ass moon pie that we drop off the side of the Trustmark building in downtown Mobile as our New Year celebration down here. So we will not.
So the moon pie is not going to drop, or it's going to drop virtually.
Probably they'll do something virtual, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And there are our Twitter handles for anybody who wants to keep up with us through. And I also wanted to point out that we have 2 podcasts where we've talked about the Just Mercy case. Now, after the implications of this case, Paul.
Yeah.
How about the thug tree?
Oh, yeah. Well, I got kind of mixed feelings on that, but it just doesn't seem appropriate, at Christmas on a Christmas tree that you're going to put up convicted people's photographs and call it a thug tree. If you want to call it a thug tree, don't do it on a Christmas
warrants
tree.
out for them.
Do what?
These are people who have warrants out for them, not people who have been adjudicated guilty.
Really? Just warrants?
Failure to appear, warrants. I mean, some of them are bad people.
Well,
multiple
sure.
offenders.
But if you want to have a thug tree, have a thug tree. Don't have a thug tree looks like a Christmas tree. That's not cool.
Mm-hmm. So this week, the Baldwin County Commission approved the location of a monument on the courthouse square in Baldwin County, Alabama. There were some, was it 4,000 lynching victims between 1877 and 1950, only one of which was documented to have happened in Baldwin County. And there was a newspaper article at the time that read, Sims strung up in Baldwin County for the murder of Dr. C.D. Cole. And that was up in my relative's part of the country, in North Baldwin County. Dr. Cole was found shot to death and robbed of his possessions, and a posse of citizens rode the group down and hung the perpetrator. And he will forever be memorialized on a plaque in front of the Baldwin County Courthouse. I wanted to use that segue to talk a little bit about the case of Murray Lawrence Jr. Does that sound like a plan to you, Paul?
That's okay. I don't want to get into it too much because we're going to really get into it in great deal later, but the public does need to be aware of it.
So he was convicted in what D.A. Whetstone himself called a deal with the devil. Huey Mack was the lead investigator at the time. Robert Wilters,
Before he was sheriff.
right? Judge Wilters was, who was our current district attorney, was the circuit judge who presided over the case. And Mr. Lawrence was convicted upon the testimony of the real murderer and only came to law enforcement's attention when his father turned over a gun to the Fairhope Police Department. The victim was not strangled, he was shot, but they had no evidence of this, so it was fabricated by the prosecution. And I'll stand by that statement.
It is a very, very ugly case, and just imagine that you spent your last 16 years in jail for something that you did not do.
Well, Mr. Rip, I want to talk a little bit about something that went on this week, and it's just very concerning to me because my Google account, my Google Calendar went all crazy, and more importantly, PlayStation Network was down, and the new Call of Duty just dropped this week, so couldn't surf.
Well, you haven't. One thing that
email, nothing.
Well, one thing that's very telling is that, and I keep waiting for it, but Trump is not addressing this at all himself, and actually, he's not really addressing the coronavirus either. He's putting Pence out there in front, but it really should be the president giving the example, not Pence.
Well, you know, he just shit canned Mr. Krebs, the head of CISA.
Right.
So,
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get rehired.
Let's hope so. You know, we need good people. And, you know, these are some of the GRU hackers.
Yeah.
Well documented who's behind this. Why won't he come out and say Russia hacked us?
At least.
And I got one more feel-good story for you, Mr. Rip.
Oh, I saw that and I thought, wow, boy, does that make me want some wine.
So the sheriff's department, working off of a anonymous tip, went to the municipal sewage plant in Rainsville, Alabama, and discovered an illegal wine fermentation setup.
In the wastewater treatment plant.
Well, hell, they got all those glass beakers and stuff they're not using.
Well, it's a miracle everybody in Rainsville ain't drunk. Could have got the wrong line crossed up and been a real bad thing, man.
All right, it's time for the Rip Report. Give me some Lagniappe stuff.
Oh, well, let me give you a few things up in the front there. Last week, we wrote on the Rip Report and mentioned about the Weeks family that's trying to put a restaurant together on 27 acres of land on County Road 49 and 26. They were due on the 15th to hear this in front of the county commission. It was withdrawn in the last minute because the applicants, I'm sure, did not want to get turned down and have to wait another year. They chose to try to negotiate with the county and work something out. I did call the county, and one of the things that was concerning was that if they were to rezone it for a restaurant, it would leave all 27 acres in that zoning, or a zoning that may not be conducive to the restaurant itself. So that was one of the concerns. But as I understand it, the Weeks family is talking with the county, and the county is talking with them, and hopefully that will, work itself out. Another thing for people living in Fairhope, there's another little magazine out called Fairhope Living. You can be assured that it will not have any politics in it like this show does, but it's a pretty nice little brochure. One of the things that's in there is happy birthday to our peer. That's the December issue. And I'd like to remind everybody, happy birthday to the peer, correct. But keep in mind that we have a waterfront project down there, and that the people need to participate in that waterfront project. Now, the RIP report, FOIA requested the city all the information on the waterfront project plus the contracts to where we could see what it is and report to you. We just got that back. It was like $76 worth of material. So we'll be reading through that and reporting back to you. Another interesting little thing in the article, those in the area here are familiar with Old Time Feed and Seed, Cecil's Christenberry, and Cecil's got a little tidbit in the back there telling you what to do during December and what to do with your poinsettias and so on and so forth. So it's a nice little magazine. You might want to pick it up, Fairhope Living. Another issue in Fairhope was on the airport board. The airport board was addressed by somebody that was well-versed in airport insurance. And this came up a couple of years ago too, and the board for the airport just dismissed it. And that is that they are very, very underinsured at the airport. They are under the assumption that they have a certain degree of immunity by some cases within the Supreme Court. However, some of those cases they're ill-informed or not applicable. So they need to have a lot better insurance than what they have. They've been confronted with this time again. So we'll just see what the great negotiator, Mr. Burrell, does, because they better get more insurance. And speaking of Fairhope, also, there's a pool contract out for great negotiator again. Burrell was all upset that there was only one bid for resurfacing the pool. He had a bit of a temper tantrum that there was only one bid, demanding why isn't there one? And I would agree with him. Why do you only have one bid? But then when you looked into it further, this has been going on for 4 years. So, I mean, it's taken them 4 years.
You whittled it down to one vendor, huh?
You whittled it down to people that just say, hey, I don't want to deal with Fairhope, But anyway, we'll see what happens on the pool. Any of you that are filing a complaint in a municipality need to know that you need to file that complaint with the city clerk. You need to do it in writing, and you need to keep a copy of it. Again, I'd like to remind people, we've had several people call wanting to represent themselves in court because they didn't have the money. You are foolish if you go to court without an attorney. That is, you cannot do that. Be sure that you get an attorney. You don't have the money, go borrow the money, get the money from somebody, but don't go to court without an attorney.
Hey, let me jump in here and do one quick, just because it's legally related. The Alabama Supreme Court expresses discomfort with civil forfeiture law. That's a Lagniappe article, and
who wrote that one?
Yeah. Write that one. Gabe Tynes. So through the asset forfeiture process, police are able to seize and obtain title to property they suspect was purchased with income from illegal activity or used to facilitate illegal activity, even when the owner hasn't been criminally charged. If a forfeiture is approved by a judge, the state is allowed to keep the property or whatever proceeds it may generate through a public auction. Any revenue generated is often split between law enforcement agencies involved and the prosecuting office. So this case is all about these guys that were running a tow truck company, and you're supposed to have a 15-minute grace period, go inside and call somebody if you're in an apartment complex or whatever, and they just coming around putting boots on and towing trucks. So they cracked down on that, and the city seized their tow trucks. Well, they were supposed to have to put up a bond twice the amount of the value of the tow trucks to avoid the civil forfeiture. In case when they were convicted and it was seized, there was money there to make the state whole. Do you understand the concept?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's not how it's been used, and anyone who wants to go look up the Evergreen Current online and put in Castleberry, Alabama, Tracy Hawsey, and that will tell you all you need to know about how Jake Leg law enforcement people abuse the public for their own benefit under laws like this. And it happens all the time, and it happens every day in every courtroom in Alabama.
And we're one of the very, very few states that are still doing it the way we're doing it, of course.
So the other scoop that ought to get Gabe an AP award at minimum, the Bayou Battery Housing Authority filed a civil complaint against former employees and board members Monday, months after the turnover on the board uncovered a scheme to liquidate the authority's 99-home safe harbor housing development to fund multi-million-dollar retirement accounts for the former executive director, Virginia Huddleston, and her husband, former facilities manager, Darrell Wilson.
Boy, they had a sweetheart deal there. They had just wrapped up a couple of million. Huh?
The golden parachute.
Yeah. And the board just sat there and watched the thing go through, which made it look like, and they are complicit for not doing their job. But thank goodness, I think this came to a head because of Lagniappe and because of Gabe's writing, to tell you the truth, because that really put the heat on them. So congratulations to Gabe. Congratulations to Bayou Battery for not losing a couple of $1 million there.
Maybe they did lose it. Maybe they can claw it back.
Oh, I bet they claw it back.
The reason for the lawsuit. All right. Give me some more Lagniappe stuff, Paul.
Okay. Well, last week, we both missed the podcast. Harry was moving and I was redoing my office, and just nothing worked out for us to pull it off. So I apologize to people, but that's what was going on. And Lagniappe, December 9th, the issues got a copy there of Barton Academy, who is slated to be the next Mobile County private school system magnet school. So there's a good article in there about that. 50 years after Bertie Mae Davis, that's on the segregation case that you may be interested in. There also in there, a couple of ones that I thought stood out was Burned Growers, state's fledgling hemp program has room to improve, by Gabe Tynes. You should read this article. You talk about a cluster. Man, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. Nobody's got inspection services down.
Is the
farmers are fed. Huh?
Is the tax man involved?
I don't know. But the farmers are fed up, and they're just saying basically that they're not going to do anything or try it again until, the state gets it straight. There's also a great article in there. Last week was a celebration of Pearl Harbor, where we lost over 3,000 people. Harold Henry, I know I will not get this right, Puyado, I think, Pouyaadou, is Mobile and possibly Alabama's last survivor of the December 7th, 1941 attack at Pearl Harbor. So if you go back and get that issue, I think you'll find it very interesting. You can get it. You can get the Lagniappe online as well as getting it free in newsstands. Then this week's is, of course, the dream job. Kane Womack returns to the South Jaguar as the Jaguars' new head coach, football coach. Does sound like a dream job after you hear what these guys are getting paid.
No kid.
But
I said no kid.
Do what? Yeah. Every now and then, one of the things in Lagniappe, I mean, you can find things out about music, different types of advertising, where to eat, real estate, etc. And quite often, I love to read the letters to the editor because it's interesting to me what things seem to set people off. This one I thought was pretty interesting.
Now, this is the specter of Trumpism. This is the specter of Trumpism that this person is calling out. In
correct.
My mind. So
now, right, and I'm reading this from Lagniappe's edition this week. What a laughing stock you are, Alabama Republicans. If Alabama were a third world nation, it would be a laughing stock around the planet and classified as a banana republic controlled by autocrats. Apparently, with the silent nod from the Alabama electorate and Alabama journalists, the silence is deafening. The Attorney General of Alabama, Steve Marshall, and his intellectual jurisprudence decided to join a lawsuit from Texas to overturn approximately 20 million votes from the states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Now, it is important to note that one state cannot tell another how to administer its voting system. There is no constitutional provision that allows for this, and any attorney general who does not know this is in the wrong profession. It is also important to note that the largely Republican elected officials from Alabama, both state and congressional, supported this decision by Marshall, which would in effect subvert the rule of law, the U.S. Constitution, and the Founding Fathers' principles of democracy. We must never forget that Bradley Byrne was a partner to this coup, a direct attempt to overthrow American democracy and our sacred right to vote, with the ultimate goal to upset the votes of millions of Americans in order to make Donald Trump the president. There is another question we should be asking Congressman Bradley Byrne. In your oath of office, did you vote to uphold the Constitution and serve the American people? Or did you secretly vow to support the autocrat Donald Trump? As far as Steve Marshall is concerned, he is shameful and a disgrace to his profession. If he had an ounce of integrity, he would resign from office. My personal statement to Bradley Byrne and Steve Marshall is this: why should we not try you in a court of law as traitors or seditionists? If Alabama has a recall provision in its laws, we should remove you both from office. Richard Tillman. There are a lot of people that feel that way, folks. And here's the one thing that gets me the most is we have been fighting this thing about who won the election since the election. We've been 51 lawsuits lost, didn't even get into the hallway of the Supreme Court. The Electoral College verified it. This is one of the safest elections in history by President Trump's own man is saying that. And here we are still supporting the steal and going on and on. Here's what is going to happen ultimately is, let's say, which I believe is true, that Biden is going to be president. We are going to spend the time all the way up to inauguration sticking our neck out and trying to be as partisan as we can to a brand new administration that's not even in.
All right, so let me break it down. Let me give you my perspective on what happened.
How is that going to help Alabama?
Well, I don't know that it's going to help Alabama, but you got to understand that Look at what happened to the governor of Georgia. You know, he didn't go along with Trump. He's tweeting, you know, remove the guy, impeach him, you know, all this crazy stuff. So when the state of Texas and 15 attorneys general and 105 members of the Republican Party signed on with letters urging the Supreme, you know, trying to make some political noise, thinking the Supreme Court would hear them, the Supreme Court instead did its damn job and said, you don't have standing. Next case. You see how our democracy works, Paul?
Yeah.
And so, because if Bradley Byrne wants to be the damn dog catcher in Daphne, Alabama, he better not let Donald Trump ever shoot a dirty tweet out about him.
Right.
Or any other member of the Republican Party. So I'll give him a little bit of a pass on this, but after he's out of office, if we keep hearing, boy, if we just had old Trump back, well, then I'll have to cut ties. But I understand from a practical perspective, he's still the guy in the office, and Bradley Byrne is still our congressman. Well, no, he's not anymore. I guess when did Carl get sworn in? Or has that happened yet?
I don't know if that's happened yet.
Yeah, I think still our congressman for a few more
right.
weeks.
Right.
So,
I think that Carl
responsibilities, and he has responsibilities to the party, even though a lot of us dispute the loyalty to the man and the loyalty to the office. But I understand why he did it. I don't think it's time to, you know, bring back the lynch mobs or call people traitors or anything like that. But I understand where this person's coming from. And I totally agree with you that Steve Marshall is a terrible attorney general. Just
he's done nothing. We've had several, complaints that we sent to him, and on some letters we didn't even get a response. And that's what's happening in other places, which we're going to discuss too. But back to Lagniappe, that steal or no steal article, and recent Lagniappe is by Dale Leash, and that due process that you were talking about on the forfeiture laws, that's Gabe. That is this this edition, Harry. Okay. The other thing was the fraud alleged Baldwin County insurance broker charged in Fairhope, and there's been quite a bit about that going on. I find it interesting that they find that, you know, this guy has committed fraud. And so, boy, they got him dragged through the papers and everything else. But yet, Strawman, the biggest land fraud deal in Baldwin County, but everybody's looking the other direction, and nobody gets indicted.
I did a little research in
this
case, and it became apparent to me that all of the facts that they're using against this guy came out in his bankruptcy proceeding, that he tried to get bankruptcy protection. And aggrieved parties entered and said he's done all these things to us, and law enforcement took it from there.
Well, another damn the torpedoes by Rob Holbert, Alabama Republicans. It's time to move on. That's exactly what I was talking about a minute ago. Let's start looking after the best interest of Alabama and move forward. Be sure and get a Lagniappe. They're very good. They have got all types of different things in there to do during the Christmas holidays, which are coming up. And I have one more subject. Have you got anything else?
No, sir. Go for
it. I just ate a candied pecan. It was great. The Rip Report, we get complaints from all over the state, and they can be involving consumer issues or complaints that people have and allegations that are being made by different people, and we'll look into them. In Columbia, Alabama, those of you that have not heard of Columbia, Alabama, it's only a population of about 800. It borders the state of Georgia and that Chattahoochee River. Columbia was a major port of call for steamboats. It was known as Old Columbia. And founded in 1820, Columbia served as a major training center for communities throughout the Wiregrass region of Alabama, 1822 to 1833. At the turn of the 20th century, Columbia was bypassed by the Alabama Midland Railroad in favor of Dothan. As the railroad continued to take freight trade away from the riverboats, Columbia's position as a principal trade center on the river discontinued. Columbia now sustains itself with a thriving farming community. Anyway, I got some emails from a concerned citizen. That's how it was, concerned citizen. And I'm kind of glad it came in as a concerned citizen, because my point is this: if you have a complaint, you're making allegations of illegal activity, it should make it, your complaint should not be judged by who you are. Your complaint should be judged by what are the facts. So a concerned citizen was complaining about the mayor there having using her authority in a way that she thought was illegal, and they made allegations of things being given away, and the police chief was allowing auxiliary officers to carry guns and retaliating against his ex-wife. Anyway, these allegations have been well known over in Columbia. Nobody wants to address them. People on the city council are very much aware of what is going on. Now, I talked to a CPA, a magistrate. I don't think I talked to the concerned citizen. I'm not sure who that is. And I talked to a couple of other people. The amount of information that they sent me is very compelling. And the other thing is that this is not an individual complaint. From what I understand, there are complaints filed with the Attorney General and the Ethics Commission by multiple people.
And
now,
that was put in the same file where they put all the shit we send them.
No, that's correct. That's correct. It's going to be very interesting. And this is what I told the people in Columbia. I said, you know, I don't give much hope that the Attorney General or the Ethics Commission, particularly the Ethics Commission, will do anything at all. However, if someone, let's say you're the magistrate or you're the city clerk, or on the city council, if you see something that's illegal or someone brings it to your attention that, hey, you know, they're giving away watermelons and hams and they're doing favors here and people can park at the boat launch and all of this stuff, well, it should be investigated. And if the allegations are untrue, then they're untrue. But if the allegations are true, then there should be some sort of accountability. And the city council is compelled, if they see things like this, to report it. Nobody there reported it from the city council. They're all keeping their mouths shut, just like they do in Fairhope, exactly what we've seen happen in Bay Minette. Huh, Harry? I mean, we've seen it. We know what...
Move along.
Right. So the people in Columbia shouldn't be trying to shoot the messenger. They should be listening to the message. And if the allegations are false, so be it. But if the allegations are true, there should be some accountability. Now, we've already had somebody chime in on our site, theripreport.com, and we've been told now that that's a fake account, and it was all a justification of what was going on. So the TV station in the TV station has failed. Let's see, what's that TV station? Let's give them a shout out here. The TV station WDHN, they have yet to cover this, even though they have the information. The Dothan Eagle, they have yet to cover this, even though they have the information. And then Ricky Stokes News, have you heard him?
No, I haven't.
He's out of the Dothan area. I don't know what it was, but he and I were on the same page years ago about some subject. Anyway, I've had calls that Mr. Stokes was very good friends of the mayor of Columbia, so he probably wouldn't write anything about it. Well, that's not journalism, ladies and gentlemen. You got to cover the ones that you don't want as well as covering the ones you do want, you know?
I ran into that in Gadsden. The sheriff there was, everybody's familiar with the beach house sheriff, Todd Entrican, but his predecessor was making that much money and more and couldn't get anybody to write a newspaper article about it. I actually bought a damn plane ticket to New York City to go see the editor of the New York Times, which was the owner of the Gadsden Times, to get him to write a dang article about it. It's shameful.
It is shameful. It is shameful. And the misappropriation of property and theft of property in Alabama, that happens all the time. And I don't care if it's a $5 or $2,500, except if it's over $2,500, it is a felony. Is that not correct, Harry?
I'm sorry. You're gonna have to ask me the question again.
I think that's correct. I think that's the mark that you have to make on a felony, because these accusations and allegations are
standard. It's a different standard when it's public money. Completely different standard. Because I have people charged with Class B felonies that got overpaid $350 by the state of Alabama for unemployment insurance. You know.
Yeah.
So
well, what should happen? What should happen in a small community like Columbia is the citizens ought to go to the city council meeting and approach the council in the meeting and say, hey, we want you to explain to us what in the hell is going on. And that's what should be done. Filing complaints is good. However, the main reason people file complaints around here is because the city council won't do their job.
After we get stonewalled by all of the different boards that we could go to with our grievance and they do nothing, Baldwin County Sewer Service, blah, 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 blah. The chief of police, the whoever, the sheriff, nothing ever happens. So
and nothing will ever happen to change the basis that Alabama is the most politically corrupt. It is the most politically corrupt, I think, for two different reasons. One, because the judiciary, the bar, and all of them, ethics, attorney general, they do not do their job. I think a huge contributing factor is straight ticket voting, because you don't know who you're putting in office. You just keep voting in these people that are just horribly bad just because they're Republican. That's just crazy.
I'm not smart enough to articulate to you how the structure of the Constitution of 1901 hamstrings us all in the state. And I'll figure it out eventually. But I was thinking about running through a scenario with you. In the state of Alabama, if you just want to make sure something never sees the light of day and never gets out of committee, all you got to do is not pass a budget until the last day of the legislative session. So then it requires a 3/5 vote for anything to even get to the floor to be voted on.
And we've been 20 years talking about a lottery. 20 years. Can you imagine the amount of money?
The amount of money that has been poured into these people's pockets to keep us from having a lottery. That's the question, Paul.
Right, correct. And the people's pockets, ladies and gentlemen, are political people. Well, that's pretty much it. We'll keep up on the Columbia story. As I understand, it's creating a little bit of a boohoo over there, which is good, because that's the only way you can bring things up and get them straight. So we'll see how they handle it. But I don't want to lay it all on Columbia. Columbia, you can't hold a candle to Fairhope. You can't hold a candle to Fairhope, I assure you. So at least, I guess, misery loves company.
Well, I'm sure there are many little towns and counties around that have similar stories. People just
absolutely,
nobody's stupid enough to stand up and say bullshit.
Right. Right. And if they do, they wind up having to move from where their
Right.
home was, like you.
Get screamed at by the chief of police and the mayor calling you a muckraker when you show up to meetings and ask them what in the hell's going on around here.
That's what you get for being a good old boy gone bad, Harry.
Well, there's that too. So, one story that I wanted to talk about. So I don't want to give this guy too much credit because he created Iron Man and then he went to Disney and he said, "Hey, I'm going to take the coolest characters from the Star Wars universe and put them all in one show. And oh, by the way, I want an unlimited budget." Right?
Yeah.
If you want to be cool grandpa, you better get your grandkids something with this Baby Yoda or Mandalorian armor or something like that, because it is excellent television. Truly.
Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot of that, I can assure you.
So one little bright side to the pandemic, I got to watch the entire series, the last since quarantine started. So Mr. Rell, you'd inquired about borrowing a firearm to go hog hunting. Was that what it was?
My God, that looks like I'm going to combat. Jesus Christ.
Oh. Well, it's never killed a thing.
Well, I can assure you it's about to.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of hogs, and actually, Baldwin County Soil and Water Conservation District just hired a feral pig manager.
Really?
Yeah, to effectuate contracts with private landowners so that our contract hunters can go out there and just pile them up.
Wow, that's just how much they're just overrunning everything
and destroying crops and people's
right.
property. Yeah,
right. As well as you can shoot them when you eat them, so that's good.
Exactly an hour. Excellent podcast, my friend. I will see you on the flip side.
Okay, good deal. Remember about that car.
And wear a mask.
In the car.